The audience fell silent, not because she was famous, but because she couldn't see a single key on that piano. Yet when her fingers began to play, every person in that hall realized they were witnessing a miracle. Subscribe to Black Inside 2.0 for more emotional, inspiring, and life-changing stories that touch the heart and uplift the soul. Tonight, in the grandest concert hall in the city, the world's most respected pianist, Maestro Victor Armand, prepared to begin a show that had sold out months in advance. Attendees wore elegant gowns and tuxedos, 1,000 eyes waiting for the first note of the symphony. But no one knew, the most unforgettable performance would come from someone completely unexpected. A quiet young girl, who could not see the world around her, yet understood music in a way no one else ever had. The orchestra tuned their instruments, the lights dimmed blue, and anticipation rose as Maestro Victor stepped forward. He lived for perfection. Music was not simply played here, it was measured, flawless, precise. But just before he lifted his baton, a soft voice approached from behind the piano. "Sir, may I touch the keys?" The crowd turned. Standing there was a blind girl, no older than 11. She wore a bright red sweater, her white cane in one hand, her dark braids falling gently down her shoulders and sunglasses covering her eyes. Victor blinked in confusion. "And who might you be, young one?" "My name is Alina," she said softly. "I came to listen. I've never heard a full orchestra in person before." Her tone was respectful, gentle, but something about her presence felt larger than her small frame. One of the event organizers rushed forward, worried. "I am so sorry, Maestro. We don't know how she entered backstage. She must have gotten confused." But Alina smiled. "I wasn't confused, I was guided." The audience murmured, some curious, others uncertain. Alina gently touched the side of the grand piano, feeling its polished wood. "I've heard this instrument my entire life," she whispered. "But I have never played one this big." Victor studied her, intrigued despite himself. Maestro Victor knelt to her level. "You understand this instrument?" he asked. "I don't see it," she answered, "but I feel it. I feel music like another kind of sight." Her words struck something deep in him. Still holding his baton, he smiled lightly and said, "Then why don't you play something? Just for fun?" The audience gasped quietly, some amused, some doubtful. A young blind girl, on a concert stage built for the greatest musicians in the world. Alina felt for the bench and sat. A few whispered comments traveled through the hall. "Is this a joke? She must be pretending. This is a professional concert." Victor raised a hand, and the whispers stopped. "Let her try," he said. Alina placed both hands on the keyboard. Not a sound in the hall. Not a breath. And then, she played. The music didn't come from memory, nor from practice. It poured out like water from a river that had been waiting years to be heard. The melody was rich, emotional, filled with a kind of longing and hope that wrapped around the hearts of every listener. Violins trembled, some eyes already filled with tears. It was as if she wasn't playing the piano. The piano was playing her. Victor stood frozen. In his decades of training, performing, and teaching, he had never heard a child, any person, create something so powerful from silence. It was not simply talent. It was a gift. Backstage, a woman stood with her hands clasped over her mouth. It was Alina's mother, exhausted, worried, and overwhelmed. She had brought Alina here not expecting miracles, but simply because her daughter had begged for months to hear a real symphony. They had saved coins in a jar just to afford the cheapest ticket. She never imagined Alina would end up on the stage. Tears streamed down her face as the music grew. For years, she watched Alina place her fingers on anything that made a sound. The edge of a table, the railing of a bus, the strings of an old toy guitar. She always said, "Mama, the world has music everywhere. Even when people don't hear it, I do." And now, the world heard it too. When Alina released the final note, the sound seemed to linger in the air like a held breath. Nobody moved, nobody even clapped at first, because they weren't sure if the moment was truly over. And then a single tear dropped from Maestro Victor's face. He began clapping softly, then louder, until the entire hall rose to its feet in thunderous applause. Some cried openly, some held their hearts, and many wondered how a child, unable to see, had opened their eyes. Victor approached Alina again, voice trembling. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Alina smiled slightly. "I didn't learn, I listened. My father used to play the piano every night. I never saw him, but I remember every sound his hands made. Before he passed away, he said music would always show me the way." Her mother stepped forward, eyes shining. "Her father was never famous," she whispered, "but he was the greatest musician I ever knew." Victor bowed his head with respect. Maestro Victor turned to the orchestra and announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, our concert begins not with my music, but with hers. Alina, would you honor us by performing once more, this time with the full orchestra behind you?" The crowd erupted. Alina held her mother's hand. "Do you think I can, Mama?" Her mother's voice broke. "My child, you have already done what many only dream of." Alina returned to the bench, her posture calm, her fingers ready. Victor lowered his baton. "On your cue," he said. Alina breathed in, and began. The orchestra followed like a rising moon. Violins danced, cellos swelled, and horns rang out like sunlight breaking through clouds. The hall felt alive, reborn. People always said sight was needed for the arts. Alina proved that vision comes from the soul. When the music ended, Victor made an announcement that would change her life. Alina will receive a full scholarship to the Royal Conservatory. From this day forward, she will learn, create, and share the music she was born for. Her mother sobbed in joy. Alina touched the piano one last time and whispered, "Papa, I hope you heard that." And perhaps, somewhere beyond the notes, he did. If this story touched your heart, imagine how many dreams are waiting silently, just like Alina's, hoping someone will believe in them. Never underestimate a gift just because you cannot see it. Some of the greatest miracles are heard, not with the ears, but with the heart. Thank you for watching Black Inside 2.0. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts. Share this story with someone who needs inspiration today. More life-changing stories are on the way. Stay inspired, stay strong, stay true.